Welcome back to another edition of the RTF Show. We are here to talk about your contracts. I'm your host, Michael, here with Brother John. Brother John, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Happy to be back. I guess maybe we'll get one more episode in before the season starts, but last
for sure.
episode before the draft.
And then we've got a very special guest today, Mr. Josh Porter. You may know him as Wings and Pizza. Josh, how's it going?
It's good. It's normally I would say good to see everybody, but I guess good to see me for everyone watching.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. We're gonna dive right in today because we've got a lot to cover. We're gonna go team by team and take a look at each contract or each set of contracts that were given out. We'll talk about a little bit of news, but before that, just a few quick things to hit. One, just a reminder, we are going to put the keepers in Yahoo beforehand. I am still struggling to figure out how to process the trades that happened in a keeper league in Yahoo. So if anybody has any thoughts on that, please let me know. What may have to happen is I may have to assign the keepers to their original teams and then process the trades after the draft. I'm not sure how that's going to work with the auction, but I'll figure it out. John, you have any thoughts about that? News you want to share?
I was unaware of that, but that's more your domain. But I'm happy to help out and do a little research, and it sounds like a pain in the ass. So I am no stranger to labor. So if you want to put me to work there, I'm happy to. The only other thing is if we could do this now, that would be great. Get this out of the way. I did consult my dream interpreter expert, one Whitney Byer, and we broke down the Charlie Rose dream or possible premonition. Big difference there. The dream is going to be more of a reflection upon Charlie Rose, whereas a premonition has more to do with Alpha Peter, which
great.
I asked Dad if he's ever had a premonition before, and he gave a very vague answer of yes, but no examples. So I'm going to go ahead and say that premonition didn't come true, if he ever did.
He should have said, I knew you were going to ask me that.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
He's not as witty as he once was, that's for sure. There's a couple big things, though, in the stream. One, location, Lambeau Field. Athletic fields represent the competitive nature of life and the many challenges that one will face. Now, if we're thinking premonition, I think Peter's got a struggle coming up this season.
That's good to know.
Yeah, moving on to night. It was at night, and typically a negative omen associated with nighttime in dreams. Downhill. It's already going downhill.
Great.
Second, next, weather. It was snowing and it was cold. This does signify new beginnings after many hurdles. So we could be seeing towards the end of the season Peter coming on strong, which none of us want. And then lastly, celebrating. He was celebrating there. I won. That could mean he achieved success or defeating enemies, which possibly could mean a repeat. But that could just be maybe he beat his rival in week 14. We don't know.
It could also be him beating his own demons, right? Like overcoming something within himself.
Yeah, something like he lost in the league, and now he's sort of coming to terms with that.
Sure.
One important thing to know, and this was stressed by my dream expert, was that it's important to remember that memory is extremely fallible when recalling dreams. Dreams are generally nonsensical, and brains try to filter dreams through lenses of the waking logical brain. So what we saw in Dad's dream really could be something backwards, where maybe Peter wasn't actually celebrating and he was actually mourning or crying. He was, out there in the cold. Maybe he wasn't yelling, I won. Maybe it was something opposite. So
I like it.
All in all, this means jack shit, and let's all try and beat Peter and not let a repeat happen.
that would be great. I appreciate the update on the premonition or dream. You can find that in the group me. Be sure to watch it. It's my dad at his weirdest. So
two other things with that video. One, the hat he's wearing, he bought that in Panama City against all of our recommendations. My mother, Whitney, and myself, we said, no, don't buy this. He bought it anyway. And then that jacket, I believe, is the jacket that he wore to his high school prom.
Wow. True. Yeah.
Still fits.
Still
just
fits,
as ugly as ever.
Yeah. All right. Well, great. Well, Peter, appreciate you getting my dad to film that video. But fortunately, we're all pretty sure it's not going to come true this year, which is great. Let's dive into some football news. Couple big things happened this week that directly affected a couple people in the league. One, the Etienne injury. We talked for a little bit about the show before the show about how to say this. I couldn't get it right. Etienne injury. Josh, you have any thoughts on that? I know this was a blow to Steve, who did not keep James Robinson.
Yeah, honestly, I thought, well, we'll call him Travis. How about that?
There you go.
I was just looking that up.
Perfect.
Even without the injury, I kind of felt he should have kept James Robinson for the $10. He's clearly going to get at least first and second down reps and be the workhorse for that team. Clearly, now it's a no-brainer. So, it's kind of, since he didn't pick him already, it doesn't really affect him since he wasn't going to keep him regardless. But it must have him really kicking himself. Do either of you know if you thought about keeping him?
I think he did until realizing that it was going to cost him $10. I think or $11 or whatever. I think that was that was ultimately the deciding factor. I'm sure he would have kept him for $1 if he could have. I thought maybe he would keep him anyway as well, just because it's a rookie running back. The situation, Robinson's coming off a solid year. It might be worth just having him, but I don't know. I guess not. The other situation that came about is the Sony Michel trade in response, really, I guess, to the Cam Akers injury. The Rams kind of loading up that backfield there. That one directly affects Peter Kramer, the Alpha Peter team. Any thoughts on that, either of you guys?
I am a Patriots fan. I'm a Boston sports fan, more diehard Celtics, but so I'm not like Ken of the Bills. I'll be honest there, but I've watched a lot of Sony Michel the past couple of years, and he's probably my least favorite Patriots player for a long time. It's basically like, okay, he's getting the ball 3 yards. All right, next down. It's like no more, no less, which the no less is fine if it's 3rd and 2 and you want a first down. But I don't think he's going to put much of a dent in Henderson's value. I think it's probably more of a depth move. And if they do play him, I think they'll realize he's not very good either.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, Belichick and the Pats, they spent a high pick on him. So if they really thought he was good, they weren't going to trade him for 2 low picks. Yeah,
for sure. What do you think, Jen?
Yeah, that's fair. I think, it might drop Henderson's value a little bit, but ultimately, I think we all know what we're getting out of Sony Michel, and, I got burned by him a few years ago in fantasy, choosing him. And I think, like Josh said, it's probably more depth at this point. And I mean, how many more picks can the Rams trade away at this point? But
it'll be interesting to see what it does to Damian Harris's cost. I don't know if that'll put a big, like, he was going to go for a decent amount of, I don't think Sony Michel was holding back too much of what people thought about that. I don't know if you have a different perspective, Josh, on watching the Patriots, but it seemed like Damian Harris, I mean, he's the future there.
I don't think Michel would have been drafted in our league if he stayed in the Pats. He has a couple of weeks to learn the Rams playbook, which as a running back probably isn't that difficult, but you have to think that Henderson's going to start off with the bulk of the carries. So The only way this negatively impacts him is if he either gets hurt somehow, which has nothing to do with Sony Michel, or if he starts off slow and they give Michel a little bit of a more run than they would have otherwise. But still, I think it's up to Henderson to not kind of crap the bed.
For sure. All right. One last thing. Any thoughts on the COVID situation? Seems like there's still plenty of players out there who are unvaxxed. Obviously, the Cole Beasley situation is progressing. It'll be interesting to see as we go through the season how teams handle this, and just how strict teams begin to be. It's really hard for me to imagine teams tolerating this that much longer, especially with the state of COVID outside of football. But I don't know if you guys have any thoughts.
Well, can we get a live update on that poll?
Oh yeah.
Let me sure.
I don't have too many thoughts on how COVID's going to impact it. I'm kind of surprised no preseason games have been canceled thus far.
Yeah, I agree.
I think.
Go ahead, Jim.
Oh, I mean, ultimately, I think we'll see some teams start to hit that 100% mark, and I can't imagine why the NFL isn't just mandating vaccinations across the board. Yeah. And from a fantasy football standpoint, I am trying very hard not to draft anyone who's unvaccinated.
Do you think there's a chance that all of the blowback from Kaepernick and that stuff would make NFL not want to do mandating vaccines because they want to lose that base again?
You would think so, but I mean, all that really shows is that the Kaepernick issue was most likely race. I mean, if they're willing to put up with these off-field antics by Cole Beasley and keep him and let that go, I think that shows more about what Kaepernick's issue is really about, rather than.
Well, but also you're in danger now of the NFL's fan base is half the country is on the other side of that line, and that half the country still makes up a large part of the NFL's fan base. So you have to imagine they don't want to piss those people off, but at this point, it's also they can't be losing out on revenue because
doesn't that portion of their fan base kind of overlap with the whole kneeling thing too? Like, yeah, they've been boycotting the NFL for the last 2 years, but I think numbers have been okay. Live update on that poll though. I voted to cut. He'll be cut before the season starts. I still think that'll happen. There's no sense in risking if you forfeit 2 or 3 games because of COVID, then I mean that seriously puts your playoff hopes in jeopardy if that ends up happening. And 3 people voted to cut before week 4, and then 2 people have voted to that he'll stay the whole season, which seems outrageous, but
we'll see.
I wonder if his jersey sales have gone up since a lot of people may see him as some type of martyr.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe I'll try to get a used Cole Beasley jersey on the show next week.
You probably get one out from the Cowboys. That's probably.
Yeah, there you go. All right, let's dive into what it is we wanted to do today. So we're going to be talking about each team. We'll go team by team and talk about their keepers. Let's start with the team that just kept one player, the AJL. That's Alec Loesch's team.
Yeah, we're gonna see a team name change here.
Yeah, we may.
I'm really hoping for that. I'm hoping for a couple team name changes. I might change mine.
Mine will change.
I love it.
What do you guys think about this? So Alec started the free agency period, or the contract signing period, with $212. Signed Derrick Henry to a 3-year deal, $57 this year. I believe it gets up to about 61 or so in the 60 in the third year. Any thoughts from you guys? Josh?
Yeah, sure. I'll go. Well, I think a common question will be, are people going for value, or are they just trying to lock up the players that they want on their team? So this has to be kind of more of the latter. I can't imagine most people wanting to draft Derrick Henry for close to $60 for 3 years straight. He's already 27. For the past 2 or 3 years, people keep saying he runs too hard to be healthy long term. You know, so for this year, I mean, it's a fine. Maybe a couple bucks more than he would go in a new auction. Maybe not. So it's fine for year one, but year two and especially year three, this could be a big albatross on AJL's team from a dollar perspective.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
John,
I think that's totally possible. And yeah, like you said, I mean, he's had extreme usage in the last 2 to 3 years. And then with the addition of Julio Jones, I think we'll see a little bit of more of a balance there. And if by balance, I mean, maybe a little bit less contact, a little bit less bruising. Defenses can't stack the box this next year, so maybe his value will hold over the next year or two, but it's going to be a lot. But then again, you know, I think Derrick Henry could still provide solid value in that year three, and Alec could ship him off somewhere that if someone has a surplus of money in 3 years. So we'll see. I mean, I do think though by year three, it's a bit of a overpay.
Yeah, I mean, I think it might be an overpay by year two. But I understand, I guess, from his perspective. There's a couple other names on his team that I thought might be worth keeping. I mean, Chris Godwin, actually, at $28, I thought might be. I probably would have kept him before I would have kept Derrick Henry for 3 years. And then maybe you take a flyer on guys like Darnell Mooney or, you know, Marquise Brown, or, well, I don't know about Marquise Brown, but maybe. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think the only one there is those guys. Yeah, Chris Godwin at $28. At least a 1 year deal I would have brought him back for. I mean, he's great and he'll be good for the next 3 years. It's just it's tough to know what that Tampa Bay offense is going to look like in 2 years. I mean, maybe Tom Brady's still there. I mean, who knows? Like,
we've got no reason to think it's going to look any different.
Yeah. So I probably would have made that move. But if I kept Chris Godwin, I don't know if I would have kept Derrick Henry. Maybe, pairing Chris Godwin and Darnell Mooney, a little more value, like Josh was talking about on the other side of the coin there on contracts. And so that potentially would have been another avenue. But overall, I like the Derrick Henry signing, at least for next year.
Yeah, one more positive aspect of keeping Henry for this year, at least, is that he had a surplus in funds coming into the auction.
Yeah.
So effectively, you can kind of think of it as I have Henry for $45 or so this year, which is that's a steal. So it's really more of the long-term aspect
for
of
sure,
it, which is a risk. It doesn't mean it's going to happen. So maybe it'll be good value. We'll see.
For sure. All right, let's move on to the Hollow Earthers. The Hollow Earthers, Bill Boylan's team. He kept 4 guys. He started out with $188 of auction money, ended up keeping 4 guys for, I think, some pretty good prices, decent prices. Josh Allen for $11, Jerry Jeudy for $12, Jarvis Landry for $12, and Adam Thielen for $19. He traded for Thielen in the offseason here. John, what do you think? Any of those players stand out as good value, bad value?
To be honest, the only player I like there is Josh Allen.
Okay.
You know, I think Josh Allen is, signing that 6-year deal, going as, you know, a top 3 or 4 quarterback in every draft, and to get him for $11, $12, $13 in the next 3 years, that's a great deal. Thielen, touchdown dependent at this point, and you know, anti-vaxxer, so that's an immediate out for me there. His quarterback's an anti-vaxxer, that's also rough. But and then Jarvis Landry and Jerry Jeudy do nothing for me at this point. With Jeudy now having Teddy Bridgewater throwing to him, no thanks. But that's just me. But I think the Allen is a great pickup.
Yeah, I agree on the Allen. That's an A+. Thielen, he's only keeping for 1 year. Kind of odd to make the trade for him. Probably kept him at the price he would be auctioned off at on Saturday. But and then Jeudy, that's fine value too. And he could not be any good. He didn't really show that much so far. But the Landry one was a real question mark for me. That might have been my least favorite keeper out of all the teams. I actually wrote this down, but this is not off memory. There's no way I would have remembered this. But with OBJ healthy, he only got 5 targets a game. Landry only got 5 targets a game.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. No matter how good you are as a receiver, like what are you going to do with that? He was wide receiver 33 last year, which is okay. Like that should be rostered on our team. Probably shouldn't keep that. But that was the lowest of his career. And I mentioned like OBJ's not going to be missing any time supposedly. So that's a rough one. I feel like. Yeah,
the Jarvis Landry definitely a big question. But I agree. The Josh Allen one is a huge steal. I mean, that's saving you. Just in terms of the points that the production that you're getting out of a quarterback in the top, that top tier of quarterbacks versus the money that you're spending on any of the other ones, that's a huge savings. So I don't know, maybe that kind of forgives the other move. But the Landry, not great. I do like the Thielen. I mean, if you're going to, if that's a guy you want, you traded for him. He seems to want him. Thielen's productive every year. Go out, you get him at the price that he's going for in auctions right now. So I don't have too big of a problem with that.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point there with Thielen. I think, if you're going to get him at around 19 right now, then anyway, and you want him, then okay.
Defensive keeping Landry though. I'm struggling to come up with one.
Like why keep Landry?
Yeah, like devil's advocate.
I guess maybe the thought is, I mean, there's no real value that he could have gotten Landry in the draft or in the auction for lower than
$6-7. Yeah, I think $6-7 probably, but
I mean maybe even lower at this point. But
I guess the only idea would be OBJ gets injured or
that's about it.
OBJ is as washed as some people think he is, and but I mean that's still a run first and run heavy team. So I don't think like you said, I mean with the passing numbers there, like there's very little to go around, and I mean the stat that you brought up there, Josh, like 5 targets is not going to get you 100 yards.
No. All right, let's move on to Mr. Fitzgerald. Brendan's team. Brendan kept 2 running backs, J.K. Dobbins and Chris Carson, both of whom I think he got at right around their auction value, which I think is pretty good. He kept Chris Carson for a year, which I probably wouldn't keep him for any more than a year either. And then J.K. Dobbins for 2. And actually, when you think about running backs, I don't know that it makes a whole lot of sense to sign a running back to any more than a 2-year deal. But what do you guys think about
if that's what you think, let's not go over my team.
I had some thoughts about that.
But I was a little confused by these signings, especially Chris Carson with his injury history. I know that they want to be a running team out in Seattle, but with Metcalf and Lockett, it's hard not to think that they're going to continue to pass like they do. And Carson's injury history has me running scared in most drafts here. So, and then J.K. Dobbins, they paid Gus Edwards, Lamar Jackson runs a lot. I don't know if that's where I would turn to. But he only kept him for 2 years. So I think it could be fine.
Yeah.
I thought the Dobbins pick was a good one, and the Carson one I was fine with. So I don't have any strong feelings about his team, but I would have maybe thought about keeping Kareem Hunt at that value. I thought it was good, but keeping 3 running backs when you're already almost $30 below the salary cap or whatever we want to call it. So I don't have much to say about his team.
Okay. Yeah, I like that Kareem Hunt. Yeah, I think that's probably about where Kareem Hunt's going, and I think that would have been 17 is the average auction price of the moment. So I think that would have been pretty good. Good point there.
Yeah, I mean, I know Fitz was worried about the amount of money that he had to kind of play around with, and I guess the thinking is you lock up your RB1 and RB2 for about $55 or so, which I think is actually pretty good deal for solid RB1 RB2 combo. Two top 20 running backs, top 15 running backs. So
I mean, hopefully they end up there, but I mean, there's a lot of guys out there that I think that maybe they end up in that 12 to 18 or 12 to 20 range, sure. But if that's your top 2, then I don't know if that gets it done. But with the extra money to go elsewhere, then potentially, to lock up like a top 3 wide receiver for sure.
All right. Let's move on to Charlie's team. The last dance, as Charlie called it when he sent in his contracts. I don't have a whole lot of thoughts here. It's clear what Charlie's doing. He is a Packer fan. He felt the need to keep Davante Adams, who, great wide receiver and certainly somebody worth keeping at a certain price, but I'm not sure that the price that he paid is the price I would have kept him at. 1-year deal, $62 this year. And then Aaron Rodgers, 1-year deal, $17. What are you guys' thoughts about this?
I'll just go. My head is below Mike's and on the screen, so I just natural going second. But
go for it.
So a couple of things. One is just for some perspective on Adams, he was kept for more money than Derrick Henry was, and Derrick Henry already were like, all right, that's a little close there. So don't love that only for a year. So keep your guy. But then Rodgers, in itself, the value's fine. But he started off with less than $200 available. If it was me, I would have been like, all right, I can get a quarterback for a couple bucks, and it wouldn't be that much different than Rodgers. And if I'm a Packers fan, the value's with Aaron Jones, who he had on his team. So I don't understand that. I would have kept Jones and let Adams and Rodgers go into the pool.
Yeah. I had a little insight. When he sent in his picks, I went out for a run with him and discussed it. And, he was debating do I keep Davante Adams and Aaron Rodgers stack and make that push, or do I keep Aaron Jones, just Aaron Jones? And, with Adams and Rodgers potentially leaving next year, I think he was a little nervous to keep Aaron Jones. Although, I think a running back's going to produce no matter what, but
you could have kept him for 1 year.
Yeah, you could have just kept him for 1 year. Why not?
Just Aaron Jones for 1 year and not Davante and Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, I think that's totally possible. I think,
or just keep the Aarons for a year.
Yeah,
he could be Team Arian, and
no, that's not good, Mike.
And go with the quarterback running back combo. I do down think a ton of money to start, and not a ton of money. It was at 185, but to use $17 of that on a quarterback when you're overpaying. I have no problem overpaying for a player, especially a wide receiver like Davante Adams. But if you're going to overpay by that much for a player and then spend, $17 on a position like the quarterback, where you can get guys not,
Yeah.
Rodgers is in that top tier. You can get guys that are going to get you comparable production for much, much cheaper.
Yeah. I mean, you could target like, someone like Herbert or Hurts or Tannehill, all in that
Or
same.
take a flyer on one of the young guys or something,
Yeah, you're gonna get some of that, most of that same value there.
Yeah.
Now I wonder, I don't think by taking these guys, I think potentially, you're taking the number one wide receiver and maybe a top 5 quarterback next season. That might give you a good push to make the playoffs and make a decent run. However, like you said, the auction funds sitting at 106 is going to make that very difficult to field a team that is built to make that deep run.
Yeah, if I'm starting with less than $200 in any year, I'm not going to keep a quarterback for $17 who spent the offseason hiking Machu Picchu, hosting Jeopardy, and holding out. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Certainly not going to keep him if he's a Packer. All right, let's move on. We've got the Rose City Destroyers. John, this is your team. I don't know how we want to do this. Let you go first, or Josh and I can give you our opinions and say you can have a rebuttal. What do you think?
Either way is fine. I feel like I'm.
Why don't you? We'll do it the opposite.
Okay.
Why don't you go first? You can walk us through your thinking a little bit, and then Josh and I can give you.
All right. Yeah. I mean, CeeDee Lamb, obvious. Like, he was looking great his rookie year before Dak got injured. He was, on pace with Jefferson there, and so there's not much to say about keeping CeeDee Lamb. I think, in a year or two, Amari Cooper is going to be out. At least maybe not out of the team, but I think CeeDee Lamb is going to take over that number 1 spot on that team. And then Alvin Kamara, I like the 55. Granted, it seems a little high, but I think he's 26 or so. So I think he's got a year or two more left on his tread than Derrick Henry does. He's going, at an average at 66 in the draft. In auctions right now. And so the way I looked at it there is they have absolutely no one at wide receiver. He is going to get 100 or more targets this year, my prediction. And so on top of that running, I think he has a very real chance of being the number 1 running back this next year. And, I think I'm all in on him for the next 3 years. So,
all right.
Did you think about anybody else?
On my team, so I picked up Cortland Sutton late in the year as a potential keeper, hoping that Denver would actually do something. But apparently they're all in on Locke and they passed on Fields, and then they didn't end up trading for anyone, and now they're starting Teddy Bridgewater, so I didn't keep Sutton. And then my other one was A.J. Dillon, because there's no way the Packers were going to up pay for a running back, and then they did. So that one kind of fell out. So that was going to be my ace in the hole, was A.J. Dillon. It didn't work out, though. So
no thought with Brandon Cooks?
No. The whole Deshaun Watson situation, I'm just staying away from. I don't know if he's going to play or what, and not worth it to me. I like Tyler Boyd too, but that's a crowded wide receiver core at the moment. So
I mean, obviously the CeeDee Lamb pickup is. That's a no-brainer. Yeah, you're going to keep CeeDee Lamb for $11. The Alvin Kamara one, I don't have a huge problem with it. I don't know that I would have signed him to a 3-year deal, but I was looking up, and the price for a 1-year deal is pretty steep at like $65 or so. So I don't have a huge deal or a huge problem with that either. The other thing that, you've got more free agent auction funds or you had more free agent auction funds available to you than just about anybody. So, going out and getting Kamara, I think it makes sense to use that money. So I didn't have a huge problem with that. Josh, what did you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's similar to what I said about Derrick Henry, and actually the auction fund is similar to where they both had a surplus. But yeah, it's going to be risky towards the end. Potentially, I think I kept a running back for 3 years, which we'll get to. But I feel like when you're keeping somebody that's already hit their prime for 3 years, it's probably a little bit more likely that they'll fall off a cliff at some point during the 3-year contract. But yeah, I don't have anything worth adding to that. CeeDee Lamb, like we all said, is a no-brainer.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's keep it moving then. And with that, we're going to get to. Are we all in a row here? Oh no. We're not. But we'll get to Josh's team next. Wings and pizza.
Did you see Absolute Fiasco and think that was you just from the words?
No.
So yeah, I kept Swift for 3 years. I kind of felt like the first year $10. He's a RB20 in any ranking, if not 15. I don't think that'll ever kill me. Keeping somebody for $11 in year 3, that isn't good. I like to think I can work around that if need be. But for this year, Swift and Montgomery for combined $21. They're both RB2s.
Great value.
I still have a couple hundred. I've kind of kept 2 RB2s for nothing for this year because I still have $200 to play with. The only other person I thought of really keeping was Chase Edmonds, which if we had had the deadline maybe a week earlier, I probably would have kept him. I don't really know what changed, except I was just like, you know what, I can probably get him for maybe a couple bucks more than $10 if I really want him. So may as well give myself all this money to get some studs.
Yeah.
I'm surprised. I mean, you probably could have flipped Chase Edmonds for someone. I mean, I would think, was it? I took actually, Chris Carson, and I think you probably could have flipped him for a few bucks there.
I honestly was really planning on keeping him until maybe a couple days before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I actually thought about inquiring Josh on Chase Edmonds, but I thought I didn't want to have him in both in 2 leagues as a keeper.
Yeah.
I will say I like both of these guys. The Lions, I think, kind of hard to believe in any running back on the Lions, but for that price, I mean, even if things kind of go south, like he's a great flex player down, in a year or two, probably still. And you could easily flip that contract to someone who has a surplus in a year or two, if you wanted to. Obviously, with David Montgomery, I believe in him quite a bit. Let me get your take. No Robert Tonyan for a year. Do you think you can get him cheaper in the auction if you wanted him, or you had 2 tight ends there? I think Kittle's a little expensive there.
My thinking was that I'll have a lot of funds, so if I want to go up after one of the top tier tight ends, I'll do that.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have, I think you have the most money or the second most money coming into the draft.
I think second, but
yeah. I think Sullivan has the most, but in any case, so just because I did say before, I'm not sure about any 3-year running back contract. I think when you're talking about guys that you're saving $20 on in a contract, it makes sense, especially both are young, relatively young, and have shown, especially Montgomery, I think at the end of last year really showed that he could, be a RB1 at some point in this league. So I don't have a huge problem with keeping 2 guys like that. You are in that interesting situation of like you have 2 RB2s, and so do you roll the dice on those are your 2 starting running backs and you prioritize other areas, or do you still seek out one of the higher price running backs if you can get him at a deal in the draft.
I don't mind sharing my so I don't think it will affect anything, but I'll probably go after a top dog. I use top dog mostly ironically, but I kind of thought of it like Swift and Montgomery effectively are both $1 keepers because I still have $200. So if they're sitting on the bench and I have better players playing above them, that's fine.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, their average auction price right now is $32 and $33. Like,
I
mean, that's $65 value right there for
crazy.
$24. That's incredible. I think, going back to kind of what you were looking at, whether it be value or, talent, I think you're right there. And I think Montgomery, like Mike said, has potential to be a top 8 running back this year. And that would give you an RB1. If you went out and got another top guy, you'd be sitting at 2 RB1s there, and then probably a pretty good flex player there with DeAndre Swift. So
Swift might be starting on the bench in real life though. I was reading today. I mean, clearly he has a groin issue, and the coach said today or yesterday that they were worried about his conditioning. So.
Oh, really? I didn't see that.
No.
So he's available.
Let me ask quick, Corey Davis. I'm not a believer, but he's supposed to be kind of top guy there on the Jets, and has had a good preseason. Any look at him?
Yeah, I had a few guys like Davis, Kittle, Chark, who I liked, and I wouldn't mind being on my team this coming year, but I figured like I could get them or somebody relatively similar for equal or lesser value in the auction. So may as well just keep that money.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I was pretty big on like I want value. I don't want to lock guys in.
Yeah,
I was thinking this summer.
That makes sense. All right, let's. I mean, the Cam Akers one you dodged a bullet with.
Oh, did I? I think I felt it hit me. I got a bullet hit me. Yeah, I would like to keep Akers for 3 years at whatever, $16-17.
Yes,
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I agree with that. But that's hard to pay money in a year that you're not getting any value out of this year. But,
yeah, for sure.
Which I wonder if he'll get drafted. Timing, like will he get picked up? And
he'll get. It's a keeper league. He'll get drafted for sure. All right, let's move on. Next team, absolute fiasco. This is Kelly's team. Kelly kept a couple players, Dalvin Cook and TJ Hawkinson. Dalvin, another super high-priced running back that was kept at 3 years. So similar to the Derrick Henry situation that we looked at, the Kamara situation with John, and then TJ Hawkinson, tight end, kept at 3 years at $11 this year. I like Hawkinson, and I think he's going to be productive, even with Jared Goff. I like that signing. The Dalvin Cook one, too, I don't have a huge problem with, given, Kelly didn't have a lot of options in terms of keepers, I think, and her auction funds were pretty low. She was in a similar situation as Fitz. And so I would imagine her thinking was like, let's just keep the one stud that I have and go from there. But what do you guys think?
Yeah, I've been going after Mike, so I'll just keep running with it, John. I'll apologize.
Yeah, no, you're good. You're good.
But
really good. Go for it.
With Cook, it's the same thing that we were saying, or I was saying with Henry, but with Cook, he's missed at least 2 games every single year. So it's like Derrick Henry, he's gonna break down at some point. Well, Cooks are always even closer to breaking down than Henry is. So 3 years is risky, but like you said, he's a player. Hawkinson's good value. I would have kept Deebo Samuel if I was her, but beyond that, I feel like most of her decisions were pretty easy.
Yeah.
John?
I mean, I like Dalvin Cook, same age as Alvin Kamara, 26. going into the season. I think, based on all reports, their defense has improved, so hopefully they'll be running a bit more, and Cook will provide even greater value. So I could see that. But again, yeah, keeping him for 1 year, that price tag would be a little high. I think it's hard to predict what the landscape is in 2 to 3 years in our league. And potentially you might have someone who would be willing to take on that contract, and which would, then make it totally worth it. Hawkinson, with Stafford, he had 101 targets last year, only caught 67 of them, but but if you see, if that continues to grow with, them not having any wide receivers this year, I think that's a great value right there. I mean, Hawkinson has potential to be a top 5 tight end there.
I mean, that's what her hope has to be.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
And then as far as the other people on the team, I don't think that there's really anyone else there that I would have kept. Way too much for OBJ, way too much for Julio, Lamar, anti-vaxxer, not for me. And I know not for Kelly either. She's pretty big. I think she won't be drafting anyone. Probably was happy to get rid of Thielen. And then Mike Evans, $32 is a little much there. I think he still has, he's still a great wide receiver, but I think she probably, if she wants him, she can get him early or for cheaper.
Do the GMs in this league have to show a proof of vaccination before the season starts?
Yes. I think that is. I think we're gonna have to prove vaccination and 2 COVID negative tests.
Every week.
Yeah, 2.
Yeah.
We need 2 of them.
There you go. Yep. All right. Let's move on to Ken Hoffman's team. Thoughts and prayers.
Let's get
past.
No, I think, go ahead, Mike.
Oh, sorry, you broke up there a little bit for me. I didn't hear what you said. My internet
I said let's
is,
skip him. Let's skip Ken. But
well, I think Ken's is a relatively short one, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't have a lot to say about Ken's team. He had a pretty easy decision to make. He has the best wide receiving core that, I think anybody is going to have for the type of value that he got. DK Metcalf at $21, Robert Woods at 22, Calvin Ridley at 32. That's, wide receiver 1, wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2 in Calvin Ridley and DK Metcalf. I can't imagine somebody's going to draft a better or get through the auction a better 1-2 combo than that. And then having Robert Woods as your third wide receiver is, outstanding. So for the value that he got, I think it's pretty.
Oh, it's unreal. I mean, Metcalf and Ridley are top 8 wide receivers in the league at this point. In my opinion, Ridley being a top 4 and Metcalf being a top 8. And for that price, it's insane. And then, Bob Woods, I mean, reliable, probably going to see, a little bit of a jump with Stafford thrown to him. So great value. Very impressed.
Yeah, he mentioned Ridley was available about a month or so ago, and I tried to get him, and then he decided to keep him. So it was the right move on his end. And
I thought that was insane.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
It's like all over. I kept texting him like every 3 days, like, hey, are you still thinking about this? Come on, man.
I'm sure that was fun.
Well, Ken is pretty much either hard to talk to or he doesn't respond. So he didn't really respond to me much. But Robert Woods, I read, I think a week ago, that he's been a top 14 receiver for 3 years in a row, fantasy-wise. I kind of thought, like, if he had a more fun name, do you think he'd be like a top 20 pick in a snake auction or $40 in this league? Like if his name was like,
What
He was
the
trying to
stat
trade
you
him all
said?
last year.
What was the stat you said, Josh? He's been a what?
Top 14 receiver fantasy wise 3 years in a row.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think the name, the offense in which he plays, having Cooper Kupp across probably keeps him lower than he would otherwise be. But yeah, that's great. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's some no-brainers there. All three are no-brainers. I think otherwise, I'm surprised. Josh Jacobs is for $46 is kind of crazy, but I'm surprised he didn't try and move someone like Chase Claypool or Travis Kelce. I'm surprised he didn't move any of those guys. Kelce at 45, I think for a year is probably still pretty good.
He's got a lot of Bills on last year's roster.
Yes, he does. All right, let's move on here. I believe the next team and I am trying to pick up the pace a little bit. One, because it's been about 50 minutes, but also because my internet is, I think, cutting in and out a little bit. But
you sound fine to me, just so you know.
What'd you say, John?
You sound fine to me, just so you know.
Oh, okay, great. The next team, my team, the Decatur Staleys, I'll let you two guys go, and then I'll rebut. But for the listeners, I'll just say I kept 3 guys, Keenan Allen on a 2-year deal at $18 this year. And then Ayuk and Deontay Johnson, both on 3-year deals for $11 each this year.
Yeah, I thought they were all kind of no-brainers too. Not much more to add than that. I think in our other league, I was trying to figure out if I should. There's another name I don't know if I can pronounce, but Ayuk or whatever his name is. But he was in the 12 weeks he was healthy, he was 9th in receiver points.
Yeah.
So that's pretty insane. But good keepers. Justin Herbert could have been an option and would have been solid value, but keeping a mid-tier QB1 for more than $10 isn't a must-do.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly said. I would have kept all those guys for that value. I think, I do think locking up Herbert for 3 years probably would have been a great move at that point. I mean, stacking him and Keenan Allen, I think that offense is only going to get better. And so I'm only disappointed that you didn't keep Michael Thomas, but.
Yeah, well, Michael Thomas wasn't going to happen. I agree. I thought it was pretty obvious to me when I looked at it. The only other person that I did have penciled in for quite a while was Justin Herbert. I did think about keeping him. Ultimately, decided exactly what you said. I didn't feel like it needed to spend the money on a guy who might end up being a great quarterback, but who I could probably just go get in the draft for a similar price. Or somebody similar for, a better price. So when I look at this, though, back to back with Ken's, I can't help but feel like, my 3 wide receivers are like the Pepsi to his Coke, or the, off-Broadway version of Ken's team. But I do have a bit more money to play with than him. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it was almost cost for your 3 guys.
Yeah.
That's tough. Yeah. But, we'll see what happens. But I think Brandon Ayuk is the future of your 3. So
let's hope. All right. Next team, the Alpha Peters. The Alpha Peters are keeping an astounding 6 guys maxed out the keeper slots.
I love it.
Peter kept Kyler Murray for $14, Nick Chubb for $43. Both of those guys were on 3-year deals. Then kept Darrell Henderson on a 1-year deal for $10. And then Jonathan Taylor, 3-year deal, $29. These were initial values, just so you know, so they're all a little bit higher. Stephon Diggs, which these last 2, I think, are, huge steals. Diggs at 3 years at $12. Justin Jefferson, 3 years starting at 11. Huge steals there. And I don't know about the rest of them. It's an interesting strategy for Peter. I think it's kind of the only one I have a real question mark about is the Darrell Henderson one. When you have as little money as and the Kyler Murray one, but I kind of understand Kyler Murray. But when you have as little money as he has, keeping 3 running backs, even if it's just keeping one for $12, that just didn't make sense to me.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, he paid a massive premium for roster continuity. But no, I agree. I think Chubb's pretty expensive again, but he's a young running back that he's a stud, and then
he's the same age as Kamara and Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, well, Cook. My issue was that he already gets hurt every year.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've Taylor, Diggs, Jefferson, no brainers. Kyler Murray has an easy schedule. His value's fine. So yeah, run it back.
Yeah, why not? He comes in with philosophy. $50 here. So
yeah, that in talking to him, man, that guy, he was tinkering all off season, putting in a lot of effort, which should scare all of us. That he was contemplating this back in May and June on who he wanted to keep, and obviously Justin Jefferson, Stephon Diggs. Wow. I mean, you're looking at maybe 2 top 10 guys, similar to Ken Hoffman there. I mean, you're looking at, maybe a top 5 guy and a top 10 guy there, potentially. And so great value there. But the Darrell Henderson thing, who knows? I mean, that could be a great trade piece come week 3, week 4 for a tight end that he likes, or maybe a better flex player or something like that. And so that could end up being decent value there. But I know he's all in on Kyler Murray too. So
assuming he gets a top 12 tight end, because we all should get a top 12 tight end, he already has an awesome starting lineup.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, putting $120 into his starting lineup like this, that does not look fun to go up against at this point. And so, I think he's all about that team chemistry, and it worked last year. So he wanted to make sure everyone got paid and run it back. So
all right,
makes sense.
All right, let's move on. We've got 2 more teams here. The average Peters, who kept 2 players, T. Higgins at $11, Terry McLaurin at $20. Both of them signed to 3-year deals. I think both of these are good signings. I like T. Higgins with Joe Burrow there. You hope you have a solid combo for the next 3 years to come. And then Terry McLaurin at that price, which I think is about right for Terry McLaurin. I guess we'll see if it's right in year 2 and year 3. I'm assuming it will be, but I guess who knows what's happening with that team. So we'll see. But I like both of them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean Higgins, they drafted Chase. We'll see how much of a dent that puts into his targets, and then I'll admit I have not watched a single second of Bengals preseason, but supposedly Burrow hasn't been looking too good. But I also thought Terry McLaurin was a rookie until about a week ago, last year until a week ago. So I'll sit that one out.
Yeah. I think it's hard to say. Them going out and drafting Jamar Chase in the first round, with Higgins being young and Tyler Boyd's only, I think, 25. So
do you just have like a list of everybody's ages, or is this like
no? Tyler Boyd was on my team, so
okay.
And so,
and do you have like everybody's birthday in a calendar?
Well, I've been looking out the running backs because it's been interesting. But yeah, with T. Higgins, like, and Jamar Chase and Tyler Boyd, I mean, you have a very young wide receiver core there still. And yeah, I mean, AJ Green, I think, had almost 100 targets last year. So I think like there's a lot to go around still. So I think T. Higgins, I mean, the talent's there. It's just, yeah, will he get the opportunity? Similar to like what you brought up with Jarvis Landry there. And then Terry McLaurin, yeah, I like him, but who knows what's going to happen in Washington. So, I mean, they can't even figure out their team name, let alone, who the future of the quarterback position will be. So,
yeah.
So I'm not totally sold there, but great value at $20. Jesus. Yeah.
All right.
Should have kept Damian Harris though. My dog just barked, but yeah, he should have kept Damian Harris. Regardless.
Yeah.
Oh, Damian Harris.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I think that would have been a really good.
He had so much money too. That seems great to me.
Yeah.
Is he coming in with he's still coming in with $205?
Yeah, he's got plenty of money. You're right. He should have kept Damian Harris. I guess I didn't think about that, but yeah, he should have. Okay, let's move on. Final team, Steve's team, the Blue Barracudas. The Blue Barracudas kept three guys. Again, three guys that I think were kind of no-brainers here. Antonio Gibson, $11 on a 3-year contract. Darren Waller, $12 on a 3-year contract. And then he kept on Tyler Lockett for a 1-year deal. It comes out to about $18 this year. I think these are all, great deals. And kind of, you get what is projecting to be a top 10 running back, a top 5 tight end, and a top 15 wide receiver.
Yeah, I'll keep it short and sweet on my end, but Gibson played less than half the snaps for that team last year, and he was awesome there, so he's going to be really good. We already talked about Jimmy Robinson at the beginning of the conversation, and then I maybe would have kept Mustard. But yeah, on that, this was pretty solid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree.
I'm sorry, so this is the last team. I'll just add, it's a little easier to talk about the negative opinions that we have of people. So clearly, I don't think everyone made bad choices. It's just a fun conversation to be like, you shouldn't have kept him for this, or this is overvalued because of this, as opposed to saying, yeah, we all agree on everything. This is a 5-minute podcast. Let's wrap it up.
Oh,
Agreed.
yeah, totally.
Agreed.
I think all of these picks are great. I mean, I wish I'd gone and got Tyler Lockett for $15, traded for him. And then Darren Waller, I mean, he could be a top 3 wide receiver, or
that might be one of the best contracts in the league.
It's insane.
Yeah.
I mean, at that price, that's crazy. And then same thing with Gibson. Yeah, they want to use him as CMC. I don't think they're going to get to that level, but even at 70 or 80% of CMC, you're getting insane value at $12. The only other person I would have kept if I was Steve was Young Wei Koo. I mean, God, the guy puts up RB2 numbers. I mean, I would have paid for him, but that's just me.
Steve's got $142 left in auction money coming into the draft. So I think he's got a number one wide receiver in Tyler Lockett. I don't know if that's a wide receiver 1, maybe a wide receiver 2, but an RB1 and a tight end, obviously, 1 coming in. So I like these a lot. All right, we made it through the contracts wrap up. It's been about an hour, so I don't want to keep things going too much longer, but I do want to thank Josh for coming on here. Josh, a pleasure to have you. Some great insight. We'll have to have you back. Really appreciate it.
My schedule is pretty clear for the next 10, 12 years, so
All right.
Regular
Well,
guest.
just in the interest of the league, and since people don't know each other, we probably should have done this at the top. I realize Josh and I went to college together. He was my roommate junior year of college, and also somebody who I got quite a bit of my music taste, stole quite a bit of my music taste from during college. So all the kind of poppy, whiny bands that my friends have listened to me play for the last 10 years, you can blame Josh for. But thanks, Josh. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right. And John, thanks again, brother John. We will be back after the free agent auction. Just a reminder, that is this Saturday, 11:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. We will have the keepers uploaded into Yahoo before then, and a Zoom link and some other details will be sent out. But we're excited to see everybody, and good luck. Thanks.
Yeah. Have a good one. Good Friday.
Thanks,
Yeah. Have a
guys.
good night. Thank you.